Mushihimesama kicks off the debut of the famous Japanese developer Cave on the Steam platform. Coming in at a base price of $19.99, can one of the most famous Danmaku-style games that originally released in 2004 make a comeback in the modern-day Steam environment? In addition, can the $5 extra package of version 1.5 of the game, as well as the soundtrack, make you look at the Matsuri pack for $5 more? Before I begin, this review was done with a key obtained from the developer for the purposes of review. For anyone who doesn't know, Mushihimesama has you facing an onslaught of bugs in a shmup environment, aka a shoot-'em-up environment. The game's title actually means Bug Princess in Japanese. No, not you, Agatha, go away. While we've seen a variety of shoot-'em-ups of various kinds this year, from Roche Fusion to even Galaxy, this one's a little bit different and a little bit more traditional compared to those other ones. One of the first things that the game throws at you is the fact that there's a ton of different modes. Let's see here, you've got the novice setting, the normal setting, the arranged setting, the version 1.5 setting. That's on top of each mode having 3 difficulties within it: the original, the maniac, and the you really don't want to really choose this if you want to have a good time ultra mode. Now, there are differences between the modes and versions, but let's start at the basics. It's a bullet hell shoot 'em up. You'll have bullets flying around you left and right, and it's your job to avoid them while firing back in kind. There's nothing different about Mushi, which I will refer to for the rest of the review because I'm not saying that title over and over again. Now, despite all the bullets on screen, the thing about shoot-'em-ups, especially of this kind, it's more about dodging and finding the right path to get through the bullets rather than just shooting everything on screen hoping that they will die. Of course, you still have to shoot your enemies and get the points and power-ups they drop. You have 3 different weapons you can choose from at the start of the game: the M power, the W power, and the S power. The firing power is different depending on your selection, with the S power being more limited in range but packing a bigger punch on the enemy, while the W power will fire outwards in, of course, a W pattern. One mode, the arrange mode, you'll be able to change between the powers as well during the fight. Honestly, there are differences between the weapons despite the fact it is just bullets in the end, but I preferred the S power for the focused power that it brought. Your power in most cases will start very weak, but collect enough power-ups and you'll have it spraying bullets left and right. You'll also get tracers that will add lasers to your arsenal. Now, you have 2 modes of fire, one that allows for fast movement and one that goes for slow movement. In the fast movement version, the fire patterns move with your movement and will allow you to get a little bit more coverage on the screen, but the slow one is great for dealing damage to bosses and specific targets. It's a strength of the game, as there's reasons to use both depending on the situations that you are put in. You'll need the slow movement one when trying to get through some of the bullet hell sections of the game, while you'll need the speed one to get out of some of the trouble that you'll get into in some other cases. I always appreciated games that add this level of complexity in something this simple. Now, there are bombs in the game, but they really serve one purpose. I mean, yes, they can damage characters and whatnot, but it's the shield that you need. The bomb is your get out of jail free card, as it'll delete all bullets on the screen and provide a shield to avoid some more damage for a brief period of time. Also, in most modes, you'll lose them if you don't use them, so it's better to use them rather than not. Now, each mode basically has 5 stages of increasing difficulty as more and more bugs are thrown at you. As to the differences between the different versions here, I feel dumb as a game critic. I mean, there's different bullet patterns and there's slight differences between the 4 different modes. I'll put several of them on the screen at once at the same sequence to show you a little bit of what to expect as a difference between them. For me, on the same difficulty, version 1.5, the DLC one, did feel the most different with the different patterns it threw at you and just a general sense that it worked better, while the other ones felt a tiny bit slower than it. But overall, it was really hard to tell the difference between them in the big picture, besides the novice mode obviously being easier than the others. But it's weird though. It's hard to tell the difference, but something does feel different about them in the long run when you play them over and over again. Remember how I said I feel like a dumb game critic? This is why. The enemy variety is good. Firing patterns range from vertical 180-degree patterns to more combinations of 45 to 135-degree bullet barrages. You'll get bugs that come at you and will try to make contact with you, while others that will hover back and throw everything they've got at you. You've got enemies that will spawn bugs that will launch a shitload of bullets at you, to ones that will curl all over the screen and make you defeat multiple parts to it. Now note, between the different modes, however, there's not too much different in this department, at least from what I've seen. Level design is alright in terms of challenge and throwing those bugs at you, especially with multi-section enemies that you have to deal with, followed up by having the kitchen sink thrown at you. It's not the biggest selection of bugs in the end. Think along the lines of Twilight Princess's bug collection. No, Agatha, not you. The boss fights are probably the highlight here, as they will give you the most challenge for the bullets they throw at you. Well, at least from the dodging mechanic. The thing is, if you die, you have your bombs, and you're able to get a shit ton of damage on these bosses with the reloaded bombs that you get. I'll allude to this in a little bit, but sometimes it's not about the lives in this game, it's about the points. Now, as to the difficulty of the game, if you're looking for a challenge in your shoot-'em-ups, yeah, you're going to get it here. Even at the mid-level difficulty, bullet hell veterans will have a pretty big challenge on their hands. You'll have small areas to try to get through, and you'll need to learn those patterns to really get through the levels. There is a practice mode, luckily. The small gaps you'll have to get through will be very, very small, so doing these things over and over and over again will sort of become second nature if you want to get the highest score. But if you like hurting yourself, then try the ultra difficulty. Because, well, yeah. Do I really need to say anything here? You see the footage on screen. This is the essence of the bullet hell genre. And you will wonder how the hell it expects you to deal with these things at times. There's a reason why it literally warns you right here with this prompt. However, you've got to keep something in mind here. It's not that hard in the end. Wait, what? That isn't that hard? Yeah, you heard me. At least in terms of defeating the game. That's the key here. You have unlimited continues, but this is a point-scoring game in the end. Trying to get through and using the smallest amount of continues, or no lives at all, is the key here. So if you define your success by just completing the level, regardless of the score, then even you can defeat the Ultra mode. Well, sort of. Kinda. Not really. I will say this, however. This is where some of the game's problems also rears its ugly head. It's really hard to tell what is going to kill you at times. Now look, there's a shitload of bullets on screen here. But here's the thing. This specific sequence, I swear I died 4 or 5 times, and yet I only died once. I'm still unsure what the mechanic that kills you in the end is. Unlike games like Jigoku Ketsukan, where it's clear where the damage spot is, I can't tell here. I mean, it's basically trying to avoid the center of my guy, right? But I definitely do get hit at times, and now it just poses more questions than answers. What it resulted in was this weird disconnect from playing, like what I was doing on screen didn't make 100% of the difference for success and failure, and that's bad in a game based on skill. There's another thing that gameplay suffers from. When there's too much on screen, the game slows down. Now look, it's actually a benefit here. There's 200 million bullets on screen, but it really hurts the pacing of the game at times. With running a GTX 980 Ti and having a 3.2 GHz quad-core running a 10-year-old game, it was definitely not expected, and honestly, it almost seems like it's engine-based at this point, regardless of the hardware behind it. Even with the performance patches that they've put up at this point, I've seen it consistently on 2 different machines. Now granted, it can be hard to see what's going on regardless at times, but hell, it's a shmup. You should expect high frame rates at this point. I mean, the game is an action game, and it's going to take advantage of the frame rate in the best of ways. The game also shows its age a bit. While the 3D models can look good for some people, it was hard to see the details about the bugs in question. In fact, I didn't realize I was riding a bug until about halfway through the game. And part of my problems is the small playing field as a default in question, in combination with some of the artwork that borders the action in question. Some of the border art does not work for the color combinations in question for what's in the playing field, becoming a distraction. While you can choose to change it in the options menu, I wish there was a way to disable a specific one in its entirety. Also, let's take a look at the options menu for a second. You've got some good choices in changing the screen options and adding windows with some information around it. I like the secondary selection of elements here as well. But then there's ones that sort of confuse me. I mean, I guess being able to play this way is an option, of course, but I do wonder if it wasn't a programmer noticing a feature in the engine they were using and going, oh, look what I can do. I've never done that. Never. I don't know what you're talking about. But other than that, this options menu is nothing to write home about. One last note, for the resolution options, it really only has 2080 by 720. While it can take up 920 by 1080 on the screen, it only makes itself in the middle of the screen for 1280 by 720, for at least for recording purposes, so keep that in mind. Also the music. As this is a shoot 'em up, you'd expect a lot of high energy tracks, and you get them. But you'll also get a held back piece or two. It's good, not great in the soundtrack department, but here's a collection of some of the music you can expect during the game. Mushi definitely does the job in the difficult section that bullet hells are known for. You'll be killing countless enemies by the time you're done playing. Just like Hyrule Warriors and the millions— No, Agatha, no. But the game has shown a bit of its age as well, as there's performance issues, and some of the gameplay feels like it's aged a bit compared to some of its modern day equivalents. In this iteration of the Cave Classic Shmup, I'll give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's good, and there's a reason to play it. It fills a niche. Now please keep in mind, a good point here is taken off for the slowdown issues, as it did affect the game rather considerably. If that's fixed, I would say this is a 7.5 out of 10, a very good game. And while the game does definitely have some strengths to it, there's this feeling that there's something missing here in the end. I will recommend this game to bullet hell fans out there. They'll find something to play here, as there's definitely a reason that cave games have the history that they do. But those outside the genre may have an easier time with this novice mode, but may find better games to introduce themselves to the genre than this one, as it can be very jarring of an experience for someone who's unfamiliar with the mechanics of this genre. Anyway, this is Dragnix from YouTube signing out. I hope you guys found this review helpful, and if you have any more questions for me, leave them in the comment section below, or any feedback in general at this point. If you like this video, share it with a friend to help TechRaptor grow as a site. And if you want more content like this on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and then go check out my channel as well. I also do some reviews over there as well. Alright, I'll see you all later.